Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Today I want to talk about cat domestication because I've gone through horse and dog already this year and I can't leave out cats. So most of us know that they come from cats. Some of the oldest cases of seeing them are in Egypt and in farming communities, actually, because they were used to keep out rats. But essentially all the cats, morning Monica, domesticated down, they have the same ancestor. So it's called Felis sylvestris libica, and they originated in the Fertile Crescent, where all the farming was, in the Near East Neolithic period, and in ancient Egypt in the Classical period. So they actually have two different designations, and you can tell based on the coloring which one they're from. There are two strains of domestication. The first is the two I just previously mentioned, and they were also hired on ships. So people would buy cats when they were exploring the world to kill the rats and save the food while they were traveling. So actually there's a string of cats that were domesticated from ratters, cats that were held in ships while they were exploring. So they kind of got dropped in the new place and domesticated from there, which is really interesting. But you can also tell by the coat pattern. So if your cat has been born through a line of wild cats, you can tell by the coat color because the recessive allele, and I'm going to talk a little bit about alleles because not everybody knows what they are. So in genetics, you're born, you get a set of alleles from your mom and you get a set of alleles from your dad. And there's two options. Either it's a dominant trait, meaning you only need one allele to express the trait. So for example, dark hair and dark eyes are usually a dominant trait. If, for example, the trait is recessive, so something like blue eyes or green eyes, then you need both recessive genes, meaning both of your parents have to have the gene or be a carrier of the gene. That's a more complicated thing, but essentially, because I have dark hair and dark eyes, I have at least one of the dominant genes or alleles for dark hair. I could also be a carrier for blue eyes because my dad had blue eyes, but who knows? So going back to cats, the recessive allele in most tabby cats, which results in their patterned coat the way that they have it, didn't actually appear until the medieval period. So cats didn't have tabby cat spots until the medieval period, which means that cats weren't selectively bred until the medieval period, because that's later than the East Neolithic period and the Classical period, where the cats are known to come from, which I thought was really interesting because tabby cats are one of the most common breeds of cats now, and we know that a lot of them weren't even, the genetic line that they came from was from the medieval period, which is really cool. They also did some studies on tests to find certain medical issues that were more common in some genes than the others, and they found that hyperthyroidism, which if you don't know what that is, it's a hyperactive thyroid, so their energy levels are abnormally high. They can burn out, but essentially they have extra thyroid hormone. The chance of getting hyperthyroidism is higher in long hair, non-purebred cats, and lower for pedigreed long hair cats compared to domestics. So you have the pedigreed ones, which come from a genetic line that they know of, and the non-purebred cats, long hairs, are more likely to have hyperthyroidism, which I thought was really interesting. Not to mention that since we've domesticated the cats, they have a much higher rate of chronic diseases, especially metabolic ones, because of the diet that we feed them and their environment that they live in. And I know there's all kinds of fancy cat toys and trees and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately it comes down to what they eat And if they're born with a genetic predisposition to certain things, then that's something you can look out for if you know about it. But ultimately, cats came from roughly the same period. We know that they also came from wild cats. I didn't do research on where the wild cats came from, but I did the domestic cats because obviously nobody has a lynx living in their house. But I hope you found that interesting. I thought it was really interesting. But I'd be interested to hear what kind of cat you guys have, and if you know anything about their genetics, because I find genetics really interesting. Maybe that's just me. But I took a class in university, and it was really interesting. It's always one of my favorite parts of biology. But that's all I have to say for today. I do have a live on Instagram at some point. I don't remember what it is, but I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week. At noon today, I did a collaboration with one of my favorite people over the weekend, and the video will be launching at noon today on this page. So if you want to see it, keep an eye out for that. I will be sharing it on my personal page as well, so if I have you on there, you will also see it on there. But have a fabulous rest of your week, and I will see you later.